Hello and welcome to the lecture series on operating system. I am Mrs. Gitanjali Mahamulkar, lecturer and research scholar at Department of Computer Engineering, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Technological University, Lonere. For this lecture series, I have referred the books Operating System Concepts by Galvin and Operating System by Achyut Godbole and Atul Kahati. This is the 8th lecture in this lecture series titled Command Line and GUI based operating system. For the previous lectures, please visit my channel Learn with GSM. In this lecture, I'll be discussing the command line based operating system, the Unix operating system and its architecture, the GUI based operating system, and as an example, Windows operating system and its architecture. The command line based operating system is also called the Windows command line, command screen or text interface. It is a user interface that is navigated by typing commands at prompts instead of using the mouse. Unlike GUI operating system, a command line only uses a keyboard to navigate by entering commands and does not utilize a mouse for navigating. Now the command prompt is like a command line interpreter application available in most Windows operating system, and it is used to execute the entered commands. Most of these commands automate tasks via scripts and batch files, perform advanced administrative functions, and troubleshoot or solve certain kinds of Windows issues. Now, disk operating system, which is created by Microsoft, is called MS-DOS, that is Microsoft Disk Operating System. It is a disk operating system for IBM PC compatible computers, and with any other operating system, its function is to oversee the operation of the system by providing support for executing programs, controlling input-output devices, handling errors, and providing the user interface. It is basically a disk-based, single-user, single-task operating system, and this makes it one of the easiest disk operating system to understand. The main portion of MS-DOS are io.sys, ms-dos.sys, and command.com files. Now, out of this, the io.sys and ms-dos.sys are special hidden system files, where io.sys file moves the system's basic input-output functions into memory and then implements the MS-DOS default control programs referred to as device drivers for various hardware components. And the command.com command interpreter accepts commands issued through the keyboard or any other input device and carries them out according to the command's definition. When the DOS runs an application, command.com finds the program, loads it into the memory, and then gives it control of the system. So when the program is shut down, it passes control back to the command interpreter. Now you have directories in this, just like folder, which contain all the logically related files. DOS files are organized generally in hierarchical or an inverted tree-like structure, and DOS enables the user to organize the files in a disk into directories and subdirectories. A directory within another directory is a subdirectory. So, as an example, we can consider the Unix operating system, which was actually designed to be a time-sharing system, but now it is a multi-user, multi-process system because it supports multiple processors, and it has a simple user interface that has the power to provide services that the user wants, and it uses a hierarchical file system that allows easy maintenance and efficient implementation. Even in this case, each user data file is simply a sequence of bytes, and it, as I said, it provides a simple, consistent interface to the peripheral device. Now, it hides the machine architecture from the user, and in CPU scheduling in Unix is a simple priority algorithm. What is CPU scheduling? I have given an idea about it. What is scheduling in my previous lectures, so you can visit my channel and watch those videos in the playlist operating system. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel to keep watching such videos. And Unix, as I was talking about, let us go into the details of the architecture of Unix operating system. There are four layers of operating Unix OS architecture. The hardware level, kernel level, system call interface, application programs, and the Unix architecture. You have the hardware, kernel, system call interface, that is called the shell, and the application programs or libraries. Okay. Now to start with the hardware or the kernel. The kernel is the part of the operating system. As I say, we have discussed earlier in the previous lectures. It interacts directly with the hardware of the computer through a device that is built into the kernel. So the main functions of the kernel are memory management, controlling access to the computer, maintaining the file system, handling interrupts, handling errors, performing input-output services, and allocate the resources of the computer among users. So you can say kernel is the main part of the architecture of Unix operating system. Then we have the shell. Okay, that is that in which is a software program, and it acts as the mediator between the kernel and the user. So what it does is it reads the commands and then interprets them and sends a request to execute a program. So shell is also called a command interpreter. So there are hundreds of system calls and they tell the kernel to carry out various tasks for the program, such as opening a file, writing a file, obtaining information about a file, executing programs, terminating a process, changing the priority of processes, and gating the time and date. So whole lot of these system calls are there. And you have hardware, which includes all the parts of a computer, including clocks, timers, devices, parts, etc. in the Unix OS architecture. Now the Unix commands and libraries, that is the application programs that I was talking about, is the layer of Unix architecture, which includes user written applications using shell programming languages and libraries of Unix. Okay, so this was all about Unix OS architecture. Then you have GUI based OS, graphical user based OS. This is the second approach which allows the user to interact with the operating system through a graphical user interface. Okay, and rather than having users directly enter commands via a command line interface, GUI provides or allows a mouse based window and menu system as an interface. Okay, and GUI first appeared due to in part of research taking place in early 1970s, and it appeared on the Xerox Alto computer in 1973, and it became more widespread with the advent of Apple Macintosh computers in the 1980s. Microsoft's first version of Windows version 1.0 was based on a GUI interface to the MS-DOS operating system. And though traditionally Unix systems have been dominated by command line interfaces, although there are various GUI interfaces available, but it is obviously the choice of whether to use a command line or GUI interface is mostly one of the personal preference. And many Unix users prefer a command line interface as they often provide powerful shell interfaces, whereas Windows users mostly are pleased to use the Windows GUI environment and almost never use the MS-DOS shell interface. So let us understand the Windows operating system. Now the features of Windows operating system are speed, compatibility, lower hardware requirements, search and organization, safety and security, interface, and desktop. Now to talk about this, if you want to talk more about the features like speed, so we can expect faster boot times. Then compatibility, as you all know, many programs and companies use Windows, and and most of the softwares available in market are compatible with Windows. lower hardware requirements, as I said, is because uh, if you consider, say for example, if I consider Windows 7 as an example, then the down like has OS of choice on netbooks, supplanting Linux. Okay, and search and organization. It has improved search tools, and also the concept of libraries, which takes the My Documents concept a stage further. So various libraries such as documents and pictures will watch multiple locations which you can add yourself, and so you don't have to keep everything in one place. Then you have safety and security. In is You have uh, addition of antivirus capabilities to Windows Defender, and new security features have been included in Windows, like authentication methods such as pins and picture passwords are available, smart screen filtering integrated into Windows, and support for secure boot functionality. So that is about safety and security. Then about interface in desktop, you have Windows introduces significant changes to the operating system's user interface, many of which are aimed at improving its experience on tablet computers and other touchscreen devices. So these are the, you can say, then you also have taskbar, start menu, okay, as the features. In start menu, a small arrow to the right of applications such as Word now expands to give a list of recent documents, and any can be pinned, so you can keep one permanently on the list. You have taskbar icons, which are larger, and items are grouped together and are not labeled with clumsy text. So this is the feature of Linux, Windows, which is very much pleasing. Okay. Then you have the advantages and disadvantages of Windows, which are like ready-made solutions are available in Windows. It is compatible with most of the software, as we have seen one of the feature, and large supply of software services. Consider the Windows operating system when they develop their software services. The only disadvantage is we need to double up the security, and this is only because what happens is the only major disadvantage of using Windows in the workplace is that over 95% of all viruses and malicious software are written for the Windows operating system. So you have to double up all the security measures if you are using Microsoft Windows software across the board. Okay. And if I consider the Windows the architecture, this is how you can actually consider it to be as an overview. In Windows architecture, you have basically consist of hardware abstraction layer, kernel, and executive. Now, executive services. Now, it is based on microkernel architecture, and it is a modular operating system, layered operating system. Okay, hardware abstraction layer. Here to understand the Windows architecture, I have considered the Windows XP operating system block diagram, in which you have hardware abstraction layer which interacts directly with the hardware. Abstracting hardware specifies to the rest of the system, and it is responsible for mapping various low-level processor specific operations into a fixed interface that is used by the XP kernel and executive. Okay, and it provides support for symmetric multiprocessing. Device drivers map devices and access them directly, and function of HAL, that is hardware abstraction layer, is to present the rest of the operating system with abstract hardware that hides the specific details of processor versions, support, chipset, and other configurations. So HAL does not provide services for specific IO devices such as mouse, keyboards, and disks. It is layered on the top of the microkernel or the kernel mode components responsible for administrating the operating system subsystems, and collectively these components are known as the executive. The kernel layer creates a basic unit of computation and provides foundation for multitasking support. The functions, if you consider of kernel, it is thread scheduling, interrupt and execution handling, low level processor synchronization, recovery after power failure and all. Okay, and to implement objects and threads, the kernel must manage the hardware interrupts and exceptions. Kernel objects are of two types, like kernel control object and dispatcher object. And control object implement a mechanism to control the hardware and kernel resources, and they are basically data structures that the kernel layer provides as abstractions to the executive layer for managing the CPU. And dispatcher objects are used to implement threads along with their scheduling and synchronization operations. So this was about the kernel layer. Then you have software interrupts, which are of two types: asynchronous and deferred procedure calls. Asynchronous procedure call, APC, that is, it executes in the context of a specific thread. It is used to break into the execution of a specific thread and to cause a procedure to be called in a specific processor mode. Okay, and software interrupts that are generated by kernel mode components are the kernel mode APC. After locating processor, thread must process all pending kernel mode APC, and user mode thread can create a user APC and request to queue this APC to another thread. Then you have deferred procedure call, which are software interrupts. They execute at dispatch interrupt request levels and are used to postpone interrupt processing to avoid delaying hardware interrupts. You have object managers, which are executive components, and each object is defined by an object type. These are created by executive components, and the object manager maintains the Windows XP internal namespace. Okay, it is responsible for creating and deleting objects and maintaining information about each object type. You have virtual memory manager also, which uses a two-level hierarchical addressing system, and it assigns each process one page directory table. The page directory table contains page directory entries. We are going to study this in detail, the virtual memory, in later chapters. Now let us concentrate about about the Windows architecture memory allocation. It is in three stages: reserve, commit and access. A process must first reserve space in its virtual address space, and a process may not access space it has reserved until it commits the space. So process usually commits a page only when it is ready to write to the page, and access is when a process is ready to use its committed memory, it accesses the committed virtual memory. Now, another component is the process manager. The process consists of program code and execution context, resources and one or more threads. So process manager provides services for creating, deleting and using processes and threads. Process and threads is the object. Windows processes are implemented as objects, and both process and thread objects have built-in synchronization capabilities. So this was a bit about the Windows architecture in short, and I hope you have understood all the topics, you have got the gist of all the topics. And so this was all about command line based and GUI based operating system. We have taken an example of each of the type, like MS-DOS and Unix, considering Microsoft and Unix operating system, command line based operating system, and Windows as the GUI based operating system. We have studied also the architectures of both, and so you will be able, I'm sure you will be able to answer all these questions that I have listed over here in the question bank. And thank you for watching this video. If you have liked it, please do not forget to hit like, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more such videos.